and we're recording. Welcome, Adelina, Tancioco, to this powerful podcast about radical love. It is truly an honor to have you on this podcast, for you to make time in your beautifully robust schedule as a speaker and a teacher and a coach, serving so many heart-centered individuals with your amazing story and the principles that you use to teach, and just being the light in the world that you are, and saying, I'm going to take some time to be on this podcast and talk about radical love. And I am thrilled and honored. So thank you, my friend.
No, thanks for having me. I think it's such an important topic to talk about, radical love. And I'm excited and honored to be here. So
thank you. So a little bit about my friend Adelina Tancioco. She has a beautiful website, which you've got to check out, Surrendered Healing. We'll talk more about that maybe, toward the end of the podcast, but just, it's fantastic. And, like fantastic. And, a little bit of background. So I'm talking to you. I first started, talking about Adelina as I know her, and the details. Adelina is a certified spiritual life coach and inspirational speaker, and she can absolutely help you design and manifest a life that is in harmony with your soul's purpose. And I know that to be true. I know that because I know who you are in this world. Before I even knew you, and we have that same training and that background, and there are many of us, but Adelina, you always stood out, there was that light around you. And let me just say, a graciousness that when you share your story as a moment of inspiration for others in this world who are wanting to do the work that we are called to do, that you are already excelling at. And when you are surrounded by a lot of people who want to say, thank you, oh, you're amazing, take it. I'm so cognizant of how you take that in and you feel that. At no point do I see you go, thank you, I know I'm fabulous. There's not, it's just a real, whatever's going on, I see you just go, thank you. Thank you. And that's powerful, not only obviously for the energy in this world, but for the person that you're speaking with. You take the moment to really feel that and feel grateful for that person. And I just wanted to share that with you. That just
Thank you for that. Yeah, that means a lot.
Absolutely. It's who you are in this world. And oh gosh, so I can go on and on about the beautiful the bio here, and I would just say I encourage everyone to go to Surrendered Healing, and you have your beautiful your logo is the moth, I believe, is to your culture. Yes. Would you like to talk a little bit about that?
Sure. So in sitting with my business, to be completely honest with you, when I first started, I was like, I don't know how successful this is gonna be. I'm just experimenting. Let's try this out. And so, first was in terms of the name, Surrendered Healing, and in coming up with a name, it's like naming your baby,
Right.
And I sat with what name is going to remind me why I do the work that I do. Right? Because again, I wasn't sure how many people I would be serving, or, I had this dream, don't get me wrong. I had this dream, but it was a big leap. It was a huge leap of faith. So I was like, I'm going to be the one saying the name of my company more than anyone else. So that makes it with a name that really resonates with me.
Yes.
It's kind of like, for me, it felt like a tattoo. Like if you have a tattoo, you're the one who's
love it forever.
Right? You're the one who's going to see it the most. It's on your body. Right? So if I'm the one who's going to say it the most, so surrender is really important for me. It definitely reminds me to let go.
Yeah.
And prior to getting into this work, I definitely was a control person. I still have tendencies of being in control, of course, or wanting to be in control. But the idea of surrender felt very opposite of where I was before. And so I wanted to just be reminded that it's not up to me, Let me surrender
Yes.
to my higher power. Let me surrender to the calling that is,
Mm.
right? To be in service. Let me surrender my stuff so I could really serve. It's not
Mm.
about me. Let me surrender. Let me surrender
Yes.
my plans so that the
Yes.
universe and God's plans can really come through, right?
Absolutely.
And then healing being something that's so essential to the work that I do, and a reminder again of I'm not doing the healing, you know, but I'm a vessel of that which is.
Yes.
And what a blessing, what an honor to be called to do
Yes.
this work, you know? And so in that same train of thought with my logo, I said, okay, well, what logo represents the work that I'm doing? And more than that, reminds me why I'm doing it,
Mm.
you know? And a moth is really what came to mind, because in my family and culture, which is, Filipino, but Filipino, there's a lot of different,
Yes.
um, there's, it's a widespread, and in terms of the different culture within the Philippines, right? Because there's all these different islands, and anyway, that's a whole nother topic. But point being, for me in my specific family, a moth represents our ancestors. And
Mm.
so growing up, whenever you would see a moth, you were not allowed to kill it because that was a visitor. Somebody was coming to
Mm.
visit, you know?
Yes.
And to be honest, as I was growing up, I'm like, I don't know how true that is. It's not something you learn in school. Obviously, and moths are like dangerous, can make you blind. The powder, and so it's like, I don't know. I think we should kill the thing, right? That's what when I was younger, I was kind of nervous about not killing the moths. But I'll never forget when my grandma passed.
Mm.
I call my grandma Lula. When my Lula passed away, we were all standing in her living room, and we were praying, and she was Catholic, so we were doing a Catholic prayer, and we were standing in a circle doing the Catholic prayer. And for those of you who aren't Catholic, there's sort of long these are long prayers, okay?
Stand up a lot too.
Yeah. there's a call and response to it,
Yes.
and
Yes.
it's a process, right? So you're standing in there, and a moth flies in, and not only just flies into the room, but stands in the circle and lands on the floor, and which we all know is odd. Moths don't land on the floor; they land on the ceiling, on the light, right?
Mm-hmm.
But here it was, a part of the circle landing on the floor, and I was so grateful to be with my family because nobody stepped on it.
Mm.
Everyone saw it, and everyone knew that was my Lula.
Yeah.
Right. And so there's been many times that have come up like that, which affirm for me that in my life, moths really do represent my ancestors.
Absolutely.
And so it's an honor for me to have a moth as a logo.
Mm-hmm.
And it reminds me not only of the work that I'm doing and why I'm doing it, but to make sure to stay in alignment. It's kind of like keeps me in check. Like it's such an honor. It's like I can't hold that symbol and without doing it justice. I have to have integrity if I'm going to have a moth as my logo.
Absolutely. I was born, as you know, I was born and raised in Hawaii, and although I'm not Hawaiian, although I am part Filipino and so proud, even though I don't look it, I know for most people, but the word for ancestors is Aumakua. So it's your Aumakua, and it's a sacred, a lot of times being raised in Hawaii, we would talk about how the shark is an Aumakua for the Hawaiian people and the power of the shark. And there can be others, of course, but so in Hawaiian, the moth is your Aumakua, your guiding spirit and light. And so, many traditions, they have that. And I also really loved, the name of your business is Surrendered Healing, because I do feel if we're looking at this concept that is, I have been thrilled to kind of download from the infinite of radical love and what that means, I do believe that is under the umbrella of radical love is surrendering.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah.
Right? Surrendering to what is. So this because we've talked about this, but for everybody listening, radical love, and through the lens of which these podcasts are, and these beautiful conversations we're going to be having and that we're having in this moment, is the idea that we can love ourselves in this moment, regardless of, oh, got pimple, or, or something larger, like, okay, my jeans aren't fitting today, or seemingly small, but really they affect our day-to-day viewing of ourselves. Whether it's, okay, I don't yet have the partner in my life, so I'm not as good as the people who do, or, I need to get a raise to feel the love for myself. Or I believe this is what most of us were taught when we were little, or, baby kind days, we would say in Hawaii, where, you get the love when you do the things. Things in the external world change, then you're worthy. For me, it was getting the good grades and being a good girl, and, being responsible, and then that weight of that, and connecting my self-worth to the external. If I don't get the good grade, I guess I'm not very good. And how that, and into an adult, into, college and graduate school, and, how I would measure my own worth based on that, as well as the external. And it's so beautiful that, one of the reasons, obviously, why your spirit, but also when knowing, Filipino girl, I feel great connection there, because that is my history, right? My dad is half Filipino, and he was born and raised on the island of Kauai, and he worked in the pineapple fields and the sugarcane fields, and he was raised by his Filipino grandparents who spoke very little English. And, this is my history I'm so proud of. And yet, for most people, I don't look Filipino, right? I'm going to show you pictures of my family and you'll be like, huh? Right? But I'm so proud. But the point is, I had to surrender as an adult to that. Growing up, I always felt like I was less than because I had the light skin. Now, had I been raised in Minnesota, I would have been fine, right? I wouldn't have thought I would have looked like everybody else, most likely. I don't know Minnesota, but sorry, Minnesotians, I'm making a named assumption. I could be wrong.
I love it.
Idaho, I don't know. But, so it was feeling like it was an interesting thing of I felt othered, even though in the continental U.S., I don't feel that way now that I've lived here for a long time. But that was a part of me where I had great loathing for my light, fair skin. I never called it fair. I just called it, when you're made fun of in these ways and you don't feel, and we all are when we're little, but they can stay with us unless we, I believe, make a cognizant, choice or decision to love ourselves radically. And so it was me going, yes, I'm part Filipino. Yes, I'm Hapa, and I have my mama's Irish skin, and I love that. But I had to put that on over and over, and radical love, because as our mentor, Mary Morrissey says, we have well-worn highways of thought. And so I had well-worn highways of thought that I'm not good enough because I don't look like my dad with his skin color. I look more like my mom, and how that can translate into just, of course, everything we see from the TV and media. And so it is that surrendering to what is and loving what is that we can transcend. And that is the purpose of these conversations. Yeah. And you have done that yourself, my friend, in your story. If there's anything, in particular that you are feeling like you want to talk about in your story and how you've done that, I would love to, to hold space for that.
Yeah, well, no, I mean, first off, thanks for sharing that. I think it's so interesting. In every community, there's always this like process of feeling othered.
Yes.
I'm a very typical looking Filipino, and I'm proud of that, and growing up, it was like opposite in that, not exactly, I don't know if opposite is the right word, but I'm a third generation Filipino. So my grandparents came here in the 20s. And so because I look so Filipino, everyone always, in grocery stores would always speak to me in Tagalog or assume that I understood them. But my mom, was raised here without any other Filipinos around. And my grandparents felt that it would serve her not to teach her the language so that she wouldn't be made fun of. Because at that time, there were no other Filipinos and it wasn't okay to have an accent, and it wasn't looked like it was frowned upon to speak another language. Things have totally changed, right? And so in terms of passing down the culture, she did not pass it down to me. So all my friends, and I grew up in there was a lot of Filipinos in the community I grew up in, and I was considered whitewashed. And so it was like, oh yeah, you look Filipino, but you're totally whitewashed. And so, it's that process, like you're saying, of surrendering, but also like that radical love. And I think that I love that you're, bringing this to the forefront of conversations, because it's so important in every aspect, whether it's your skin color and your culture, whether it's your gender, or, your sexuality, whatever it is. It's so important to love yourself as you are, because as we know, what society shows and what the media, gives examples of is a very limited representation of who the world is really composed of.
Right. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. So
that's a beautiful way of putting it, of who the world is really composed of. We are so much more than what we see. And I feel like I'm going to put my teaching hat. I also teach at a university, and the educator part of me wants to start talking about socially constructed norms and,
Yeah, but it's totally, it's a part of it. It's a part of radical love. Yeah.
Yes. We only see our culture in one way, right? If the culture that we are a part of is, we only see them as working in the hotel, right?
Mm-hmm.
Or only see them as X, Y, and Z. Not only we, but people who are not of our community could put that on if we don't have an awareness for seeking the truth.
Yes.
Beyond. And it takes, a decision, a clear-cut decision. And you're right. It's not just about these seemingly smaller things, but the larger things, right? When we experience maybe heartbreak or physical disability, that was my story. And as having had 2 spinal cord surgeries, both of which left me without the use of my body, and the paradigm, how the paradigm wants us to play small and wants us to say, sometimes, the paradigm will go, well, you recovered, but it's not that big of a deal. Because also part of my culture too, coming from Hawaii, there's something where we say it's hai maka maka. So maka is the eye. And so if you're high maka maka, you're looking your nose down at people. So you want to be humble, right? It's a part of how I was raised. And I think my paradigm took that and went, don't make yourself too high maka maka, come down. But it's a balance between, it's not arrogance, but it's being proud of my story.
Yeah.
And being proud of how I transformed and transcended these, at the level of facts and circumstances, these really rough, experiences, these, as Kirsten would say, rigorous opportunities, but they, at the time, just like, this is the worst, and having, with this last time, and having, without the use of my body, and my husband having to do everything, feed me, clothe me, everything, and me hating what was, having such loathing for my body, because it wasn't working.
Right.
And I could, in physical and occupational therapy for months and months, and trying to put 2 beads together. And that was all I could do, and cursing my hands, cursing my body. And just, and the dark days and the dark nights of the soul. And, without getting into all the details, it was bad. Post-traumatic stress disorder and debilitating panic attacks, like you see in the movies, where I'm hiding under a table because there was a noise outside. And thankfully, like you, and we've studied these principles for a long time. I've been studying them since I was a teenager. I remembered Marianne Williamson's quote that we can either live from love or we can live from fear. I was drowning in fear. Because I'd now had spinal cord surgery to remove a tumor from within my spinal cord twice. So my paradigm was like, what about it a third time? What if it happens a third time? And that was the kind of thing where, I know we have similar stories where we've experienced things where when I said that, my first thought was, I'm out of here. No, I will not go through this a third time. When I'm sitting here months after going, and my husband is still, and I'm all of this, and I was so disconnected. So thankfully, when I remembered that we can either live from love or we can live from fear, I realized I got to get grateful. So that was the shift. It was radical love for my body where it was, and thanking my hands for being able to put two beads together, and moving for thanking the fact that my husband sat across from me at every physical, every occupational therapy. He didn't only drive me there whilst working full time and managing everything when I can't do anything, but he sat across from me. And nobody else's loved one did that. They waited in the waiting room. So, becoming it's perception, right? One of the mental faculties, it was perception. It was, look at that. Thank you, hands. Thank you, hands. And it was, it took a long time, but thank you, hands, for doing these two beads. Thank you, husband, and it was, Rumi, the great poet Rumi, has a beautiful quote that I love where he says, "The wound is where the light enters us."
Yes.
And I love that, but I always add to that when I, doing vision workshops, I believe it's true, but you also have to look for the light. You have to make a decision that you want that light, because I for a time I was just in the darkness.
Yeah.
So thank you, hands, and seeing my husband was me looking for the light, and then the light slowly expands. You have some similar experiences with that.
Yeah, thank you so much for sharing that. Ugh, that brings me gets me emotional, like seeing your husband there at every appointment. Yeah.
Me too.
Yeah.
And you have that now too, and you didn't once. I just painted it a little bit red. But remember when you didn't, but now you do. But I mean, but really though, that is because you've done the work. You know how people in our community say the work shows. The work shows in you, the work shows in me. And it's not that we've done anything that others, other beautiful, amazing humans can't also do, but we made a decision, and we, it's that consistency. Would you like to speak about, that at all in terms of your journey?
Yeah, sure. So, several years ago now, it's so funny how fast time flies.
Yes.
Kind of crazy.
I know.
So in 2013, a month before my wedding, I learned that my fiance at the time was cheating on me. So, I was devastated. It was a month before my wedding. I had a 300-person wedding completely planned.
Wow.
And it was a do-it-yourself wedding. So I had done everything. Everyone from the florist to the videographer to the violinist to the band, they were all like connections that I had, and they were all lending and volunteering their time or doing it for very little pay. And then the rest was like me and my family making things. And so it was just
Filipino style.
Yeah. But it was going to be a beautiful, absolutely beautiful wedding.
Of course.
But it was just so much work that went into that wedding, and everybody and their mom, dad, and uncle were involved. You know what I'm saying? Everyone was involved in this wedding. And so, 1 month before the wedding, and, everything was done by then. And so to have everything done in 1 month before the wedding, to learn that my fiance was cheating on me. And it really bringing up and honestly like triggering me, because I grew up in a household of domestic violence, and, my mom, and then my mom's partners after my dad had been abusive and also cheaters. I know that there's a more PC term for that, but I can't think of it. Cheaters, okay? And so I had this idea that growing up, I had a very young age. I remember being in like 3rd grade having this conversation with 2 of my girlfriends, and they were like, one of them was like, I'm going to marry a doctor. And another one was like, oh, I'm going to marry a lawyer. And I was like, I'm going to be the doctor or I'm going to be the lawyer. But this is in 3rd grade, okay? Tells you when social norms come in, right?
Right, yes.
So I was like, I'm going to be the doctor. I'm going to be the lawyer, because when we get a divorce, not if, when we get a divorce,
wow,
I'm keeping the kids and I'm keeping the house.
wow.
Yeah.
Third
So
grade.
that was my mentality in third grade. Wow. Yeah. I was like, I'm going to be the doctor. I'm going to be a lawyer. Not because I wanted to be a damn doctor, excuse my language, or a lawyer, but because I knew that I felt that I couldn't depend on a man to support me, you know? And it wasn't if I get a divorce. I don't know, why didn't I think like maybe I'm just not going to get married? I guess that idea didn't come yet. But I just thought, well, I'll get married and then I will get a divorce because that's what happens. Okay. And I want to keep the kids. So it was very much, it was so important for me. Oh, I'm going to keep the kids. I'm going to keep the house because I'm going to be the breadwinner. Right. And so that stuck with me for a very long time, you know, up through middle school, high school, into college, this idea of needing to, you know, and I had a lot of male friends and I was dating and stuff like that, but I was always very like, quote unquote, alpha. You know what I mean? And my guy friends would always tease me about my relationships because they were like, good luck to them. That they have to
so that gets in there too, though, right? Even the joking, you start to, I mean.
Yeah. Well, they were like, good luck to them because they knew that I had this wall up. You know, I had this wall up. There's nothing wrong with being alpha, but there was a wall that wasn't just about being, you know, in charge. It was like I was protecting myself. So it was like, how much can I let somebody in if I have this wall up, you know? And so, you know, in college, I fell in love, really put my wall down, you know, really put my wall down and started to imagine, you know, like I was never one of those teenagers that wrote my name with their last name or imagine being someone's wife. Like I never fantasized about it. I never fantasized about my wedding. It was never a thought that I was like so excited about, you know, but here I was excited about the idea of living the rest of my life with this man, you know? And so when a month before our wedding, I learned that he was cheating on me. Yes, I was devastated for our personal relationship. I was also devastated at the idea of not having kids. I was really ready to have kids in partnership in that moment, or I thought I was ready. But more than that, I was devastated because the childhood fear that I had harnessed all those years and then I thought I had worked past was coming true. It was like the worst possible nightmare to come forth, you know, and for the world to know. I'm telling you, everyone, I don't come from a very big community, so 300 people, that was a lot of that community. And, you know, like everyone knew. Yeah. Everyone knew about it. And I wasn't one to, I didn't publicize it. I didn't put it on social media or anything. I very much kept it, you know, low key about what exactly happened. But everyone knew. You know, people talk, everything, you know, and just the devastation of like, oh my God, I should have known better. What were you thinking? You know that this is what men do. You know, like what were you made a commitment when you were in third grade that you weren't going to let someone blah, 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 blah. And here you opened your heart up. Don't do it again. You know? And so I fell into a deep depression. At the time I was actually, I've been trained as a therapist. So I was a counselor at a school and I had counseled families in the past as well. And so, you know, I was doing everything that I had been taught to do to cope. You know, I was exercising. Right. I ran a lot. I even joined a CrossFit gym. And it's not like
that's how serious you were.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not laughing because there's anything wrong with CrossFit, but like CrossFit is like legit, like you know,
it's like arms, like
yeah.
I'm feeling like that. That's no joke.
Yeah, it's no joke. Okay, the first time I went to a CrossFit gym and I pulled up these like huge, you know, put these, you know, the
tires
or something too. I remember just laughing at myself, like, what the hell are you doing? Like, this is not really. Not that it can't be me, but it wasn't really me. You know what I mean? Yeah. I joined a CrossFit gym. I was running all the time. Started doing therapy. You know, I was doing acupuncture. I was going out with friends, you know, like I was just, you know, doing all the things that they say that you're supposed to do. And they were all helping, but it wasn't completely like, I was still really depressed, you know? And so after a while I was just like, well, I don't know what else to do. And so I couldn't think of anything to do other than die. And I just felt like that would solve it. You know, why not die? And that sounds crazy, but at the time it was really appealing, you know, versus having to go through the pain and wake up every day and go through the same motion. And I felt like I was doing everything I was supposed to be doing, and I still just wasn't feeling better. And so I started brainstorming all the ways that I could die. But honestly, I couldn't think of a way that was painless and effective. Okay. And I've since been told that there are ways to kill yourself that are painless and effective.
Oh,
thank God I couldn't know of
thank
them
God.
at the time. I was like, I really couldn't think of them. And so I was like, you know what? I'm just not going to wake up. So God, please just don't wake me up.
Yeah.
You know, and I'd been around long enough to know not everyone wakes up, obviously. And I was like, you know what? Instead of taking someone else, just take me. Like, I am ready. I am willing. I want to go, you know? So God, if you would just now wake me up tomorrow, you know? And then the next day I woke up. I was like, what the, you know? And so I would ask God, and I was like, you know, same thing. I didn't get a response because I feel like God doesn't respond to something like that all the time. I mean, like, what kind of conversation is that, Adelina, right? But after months of having that routine of like, God, please don't wake me up, and then me kept waking up and then asking God, why'd you wake me up, and not getting an answer, I got angry. You know, because I was like, why do you keep waking me up? There's so many other people in the world that want to wake up, and you're not waking them up, but you're waking me up. What is the point? I don't want to be here.
Right.
You know, I was so angry. And in the midst of my anger, I heard this voice, something that Adelina, you know, something I wouldn't say, you know, this humbling voice of truth say, I'm not done using you. I remember just like stopping right there, like, okay, what? Oh, what? I have a purpose, you know, like you want to use me for something. There's a greater purpose in my life. I feel like I just failed at life. You know?
Wow. Right.
Yeah.
Right.
So it felt, and we talk about radical love. Like, I felt like, oh my God, like I'm a hot mess.
Right.
You know? And
Yes.
God, you love me to the point that you won't take my life, even when I'm begging you to. And you want to use me. You know?
Right. And when in that moment, to just interject, I bet you didn't feel like you had much to give.
No,
but the power within you knew. Yes.
Yeah, I was like, what are you gonna get? Like, I don't have, not only do I not have anything to give, but I'm a hot mess. Like,
right.
Like, there are people more put together.
Yes.
Could use, don't you think? You know, but I was just, it was like this, like, feeling of like, to me, you know, radical love being unconditional love. Yes. Really, which being the only love that there is, which is, for me, an embodiment of God's love. And so it was like, oh, God loves me. And even though I am all messed up right now, God still sees my value. I might not see my value, but God sees my value. You know? And so in that moment, I made the decision, everything I could, to not just feel better, right? But to be better, so that God could really, I could live at my fullest potential, and serve, to be in service. Because I mean, I was just speechless. Like, what, you want to use me? Like, I don't
like me?
Yeah.
Turn around, like, who else is here?
Exactly. Like, what do I have to offer?
Right.
But you must see something that I don't. And so my prayer changed from, God, you know, please don't wake me up, to God, help me see. I don't see what you see, but help me see how I could be of service.
Right.
You know?
Yeah. And I
Yeah.
think that's
And so
so
much has,
powerful.
I mean, the rest is history there. I think that's really what led me in this work. That's what, in this work is how I met you. And I'm just so grateful to be here now. And I'm just, no longer depressed. you know, thank you. Thank you, God. No longer depressed. And just living my best life,
Yes.
like
Yes.
I mean, things I never thought I would ever fathom I could do, like travel and, have my own business and then open my heart up again. I mean,
Yes.
I opened my heart up again and I met an amazing, amazing partner. Yeah. I'm so grateful for him. I mean, yeah, I can go on about him, but I'm just still like emotional from everything I shared, but just him being open, when he met me, I was in the midst of my healing, I guess you could say. And him being open to that and being okay with my process, and being patient with what I needed and how much I could be invested and how scared I was and moments of fear that would come up because they would. We'd be having a great time, we'd be laughing, and then all of a sudden I'd be like, oh no, I'm letting him in,
Right.
and
Yes,
I
yes,
would
yes.
totally shut down. Yeah, totally shut down, but he's totally, I mean, he's really shown me that it's okay to try again. It's okay to open your heart up again,
Yes.
and I'm so grateful to have, not only forgiven my ex, but to be able to be open to love again. I think that those come together. I couldn't have been open to love again without forgiving,
Absolutely.
And now, yeah, it's so essential.
I'm just gonna, if I may, just say I think that was it was through that radical love for this person who you had felt, and I mean, you use the word, and I think that's what most people would say is betrayed, right? There's a betrayal there, and then that you were so cognizant of the fact that I have these walls up, and then I'm letting you in, aren't you? I'm gonna let that drawbridge down in the castle of my heart, and then you came in and you brought a monster with you, and you just punched my heart, and I'm not gonna do it again. That could have been Adelina. It could have been you, my friend. You could have put that drawbridge back up for good.
No,
for
for sure.
You could have been like, bye, Felicia, and just to all of the love. No, you had that in the 3rd grade. So talk about, again, those well-worn highways of thought, and then your paradigms are going, confirmation, see, told you, that's the way it is. It took, I imagine, just infinite amounts of love for yourself, forgiveness. I hear you saying, and I just completely agree, and I just wanted to shed light on that before we move on. You chose to forgive.
Yes. Yeah.
Not easy. I got really loud.
It wasn't easy, and I remember talking to one of my friends. I was like, oh, I'm working on, I'm practicing forgiving him. And he's like, why? You don't need to. My friend is like, why do you need to? You don't need to. And honestly, I said, it's actually more painful not to.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Like, it was more painful not to. And I surprised myself. I used to say, coming from this walled up Adelina at the time, like, man, if I'm ever cheated on, I'm going to do this and that, forget them and blah, blah, blah. I was like, and I had even told my ex-partner, like, if you ever cheat on me, like,
wow.
And I would say, like, look, if you're interested in someone else, I always told him, like, look, if God, for whatever reason, you're interested in someone else, just let me know. I may be hurt by it, but just be upfront with me, because if you cheat on me, like, I don't think I could ever forgive you. You know what I mean? Like, it was that process of dishonesty. Wow. It wasn't this idea of like, we have attraction to other people, and sometimes relationships end. I was obviously not I wasn't naive about relationships ending. So I was like, it's like, if for whatever reason we don't end up together for the rest of our life, and you're wanting to be with someone else, just tell me. I will be pissed. I will be hurt, but tell me. And so, because I just held cheating as like close to murder, like in terms of
Wow.
how bad it was in my mind. So the fact that he cheated on me and that I actually forgave him very quickly.
Wow. I'm looking up a forgiveness quote. So that's what I'm doing right here. Cause you're inspiring me to one of Mary's quotes. Yeah.
Yeah. No, is there one that is sticking out?
Yeah. It's one that I just made an Instagram post about. And so I was like, this is, it's one of her, let's see if I can get there. Her most favorite, or that we know, and I created a little thing, and this is because it's not something to, I believe, to just, I think it just needs, we need to really give you credit there, because this is what I was hearing you saying, and I just so resonated with, like, justified anger.
Oh, yeah.
Where your friend was like, why? And you got people around you going, no, and then you vilify because there's a betrayal easily. So you could still have been,
Yeah. And I mean, given all this, the literal facts, there was no reason why I would forgive.
Yes.
But again, forgiveness wasn't just for him. It was for me. It felt better.
Yes.
I felt better forgiving, and I knew right away, and it really did. It surprised me how quickly I forgave him. I remember right after, I called off the wedding like a week after finding out. And the first week I just wasn't sleeping, and I was just like talk about a hot mess, and so when I finally came to, I was like, well, I need to let people know, so called off the wedding, and I wrote a letter to my bridesmaids. They had done so much. You want to talk about hands-on wedding, DIY wedding? Each of my bridesmaids one was making the cake for us. Another had like literally built a wall, like which sounds great, like literally drywall, and had a chandelier on the ceiling coming down. Like it was a DIY hardcore wedding.
Yes.
People had done so much work, and I wanted to thank them for it. And more than that, they're supporting my relationship. You know what I'm saying? And in that letter, I told them that I had already, I was so grateful to them and had already forgiven my ex. Because there was nothing else to do. Like, and when you love someone, and I realized this, and I hadn't known this at the time until it happened. I had always prayed for love. I'd always prayed for, like, I knew I had some stuff I needed to work through. And yet I always had conditional love. With people. But it wasn't until this experience that I realized that actually the love that I don't think it grew into it until this moment, the love that I had for him was unconditional love, because that's the only love that's real. Do you know what I mean? Like what you're saying, like unconditional love being a synonym for radical love. It's the only thing that's real. And even though I no longer wanted to be with him, loving him is separate. Loving someone has nothing to do with whether you want to be with them or not. I no longer want to be with him because I wanted to be in a monogamous relationship, right? I wanted to be in a relationship of transparency and honesty, but I still love who he is, and to this day, I only speak goodwill of him, I even recommend people to work with him and things like that. I mean, I still definitely,
that's amazing.
He's a great person. I still have so much love for who he is as a person. And it surprised me. I thought that one, that wasn't love. And two, that's not what I had for him. But forgiveness is such an essential part of that. And through that, really, that's what opened me up to love again.
Yes. And I heard you say, my friend, there was nothing else for me to do, but I would respectfully disagree. You could have held on to that.
Well, nothing else productive. How about that?
Yeah. But I mean, if you look at the, many world that we know would have held on because that's where, and I get that from my own experience with forgiveness. And I find the most seductive is justified anger, where you go, justified.
And here's the thing, it does feed you. Justified anger.
Yes.
It feeds our ego. But I will say it's not sustainable.
No.
it's not sustainable because our ego is not sustainable. The only thing that's sustainable is love,
Yes.
you know? And so if I'm moving on this world with love, that's the only way to do it.
That's it. I got the quote too. This is what you did.
Yeah.
From Merriman and Morrissey. This is, I just created this. I don't know if you can see it, but this little tree.
Oh, yeah, it's
and something in the, these are part of my Instagram quotes. So it's forgiveness in its highest, you know this, of course, in its highest form is simply a gift we give ourselves. Forgiveness is a shift in perception in me that removes in me a block to my awareness of love's presence. And that is from our mentor, Merriman and Morrissey. And then I had put something, beneath it where I just talked about, again, what you just illustrated. It's like when we have our calls and we're talking about the difference as life master consultants, difference between knowing about something and really knowing it. When we know about something, we could know about forgiveness, but unless you really know it, that's when it's expressed into your life, and you expressed it into your life, and through that open the space for your amazing partner in life, and your husband. But it was because you released your heart from the shackles of anger, hate, resentment, or justified anger.
And the thing is too, it's a practice.
Yes.
It was a practice, I used to have this, I almost want to call it a mantra. But usually when you think of mantra, it's a positive thing. So I don't know which one, but I had this mantra where I was like, how could you?
Oh, yeah.
Like, how could you do this to me? And then I would have to be like, remember, you already forgave him. Remember, there's an opportunity here that you can't see right now.
Right.
Remember, there's, God has a plan for you that you don't know.
Yes.
And remember, again, going back to that, I remember thinking like, if he was not it, if he was not the person I was going to live the rest of my life with, and if I know I would love to live my life with someone, you must have somebody else planned for me. You must have something else planned for me. I can't see anything better than the life I was currently living, and that was really hard. I was like, I cannot see that there's something better out there than what I already had, and it's almost like more painful to have had it for a moment if I can't see something better. But if it's no longer in my hands, there must be something else, and I'm so grateful. I know you shared it. Yeah. So then I met my now husband, who has, like I said, has been so patient and loving throughout the entire process. And I'm really grateful. And it's so interesting. We can both say that we're grateful for each other's exes, because he knows that the way that I am with my husband now is so different than the way I ever was in any past relationship.
Yes.
I'm so much more open. I'm so much more loving. I'm so much more accepting, because that, what I felt like was a traumatic end, really taught me so much.
Yes.
Right? And I'm so grateful to that, and he's grateful to my past relationship, which is amazing, to the extent that when we got engaged. Yeah. When we got engaged, and it was this beautiful, like, dream come true engagement. He proposed to me in Italy, which was my dream to go there. I never thought that was going to be possible, but through this work, like manifesting and all that, I was like, sure, why not? Let's try Italy, So in Italy, he proposed, and I want to say maybe it was the very next day. It was either that night or the day after. He said, hey, are you going to tell your ex?
Wow.
He said his name. But I was like, no, like, the hell would I tell him? Like, we had just spent the whole night before telling all of our loved ones. And I was like, why would I tell him? Like, and he's like, well, I just think it'd be nice if he hears it from you versus other people.
And also, that's a testament to your husband.
Exactly. Yeah.
That's a whole nother level.
Yeah. I was like, man, yeah. And I was like, my own ego came in, like, I don't owe him anything. You know what I mean? And he's like, you don't owe him anything, but that would be the better thing for you to do.
Yes.
And so I did, I reached out to him and just let him know, because he was going to find out, social media, whatever, he's going to figure it out.
Right.
But to just let it be from me, And I'm so grateful. So we got married, we had this beautiful wedding, and skip forward, like, oh, actually, like, it was 14 months. I did the math because I was like, gosh, things have been going so fast.
Yes.
So we got engaged. 12 months later, we got married, and then 2 months after getting married, we are now pregnant.
Awesome.
Yeah, and I'm like, none of that could have happened had I not allowed in the natural energy and feeling of radical love.
Yes.
I actually find, as much as radical love is radical, it's actually, I really feel it's the natural way.
Yes.
But we've just been taught
out. Go back to it. Exactly.
Yes.
It's now become radical, but I'm completely that we were born knowing this. We were born with that love. It was just love. But then through those socially constructed norms, through the teachings of well-meaning, family, friends, and society, we got things backwards.
Yes.
And so it's now radical,
all messed up, upside down,
backwards. But now we are coming back to it and to what is the truth and who we really are, and that is made of love. And when we're downloading from whatever our chosen word is, from the God, from infinite intelligence, just from the universe. So knowing that this message can speak to anyone and everyone, regardless of our chosen beliefs. Your message of empowerment is truly remarkable, from the journey of being cognizant of what you became your normal at 3rd grade. How old are we at 3rd grade? Is that like 7 or something? I don't know. Like,
I don't know. I mean,
baby kind of.
Yeah, let me see. Like, 8, 9. I think.
That's crazy. We call it in Hawaii too Hanabata days. Like, Hanabata. Anyway, like when your nose is running when you're little, we have Hanabata days. So it's like Hanabata days and that you were able to, through your open heart, all coming under this heading of radical love, is surrendering to the moment, having radical love for yourself, forgiving your ex-fiance, and doing the work and serving and listening to spirit, your voice for truth, when it said, I'm not done with you. And it's interesting, I haven't mentioned this before, and it's interesting that I talked about, I didn't plan it, but talk about how I had my experience being born and raised in Hawaii and how I felt othered and with my skin. So I don't look like a hapu girl. I don't look like a person of color, but yet I am. When I was little, I would go to sleep and say, I just don't want to wake up, God. Please don't wake me up. When I've heard you say those words, and I was like, oh my, I had the same thing when I was just not even, I was baby kind days too. So I get that, and that loving, and if, like Mary says, like, she's only, excuse me, one thought away from going back to the other thinking. When I go home to Hawaii and I'm in my beautiful fair skin, having, maybe like you with 3rd grade days, when we have to, it's a constant, it's like we forgive on a daily basis. It's radical love for ourselves on a daily basis. So if we go, thank you, beautiful skin, or thank you, whatever, right? After my surgery, there was a lot of weight that I put on. And I remember looking in the mirror and going, I don't know who that is. And then because it didn't look like me, because there's a lot that happens to your body when you go through this stuff and not being able to, walk and et cetera, et cetera. And the irony is, I laugh about it now, and I'm writing that in my book, but it's a chapter. I'm going to have it. It's called, I'm writing, it's called, I beat the odds twice, but I got mad that I got fat. Like that's when I was like, trying to learn how to, this and that, but I look in the mirror and be like, and it was only through radical love of like, thank you, body. So whether it's the external or what seemingly we might say is not that big of a deal, but when we are inundated with this idea that particularly I'm going to, postulate that as women, there's a level, like you said, what we see in media is only a small representation of who we are in this world. And thankfully things are changing. And it starts with conversations like this, or this is a part of it. This is a part of it.
Totally.
I'm so grateful. I'm so grateful. And that you have this beautiful life, my friend, that you have created.
Thank you. Well, I am so grateful to be in this space of knowing that yes, it's with me, like I've created it, but like to know that like God had a plan for me. The universe has a plan for each of us.
Yes.
You know? And what I always tell the people that I have the honor of serving is, if you are woken up today, there is a reason for it. Trust me, nothing is by, happenstance. Everything is by design.
Yes.
So if you are woken up today, know that there's a purpose for today.
That's it.
You know?
And that you are loved.
Yeah.
Exactly as you
What
are.
how amazing to know that there's a purpose for today that you don't even know.
Yes.
But just simply by waking up, by the universe putting breath into your body, there is a reason for it.
Mm-hmm.
What a blessing. What an amazing, like you can't feel anything but gratitude
Yes.
when you acknowledge that. And so I am so grateful God did not listen to me. I am so grateful God did not listen to you when you were having those thoughts, right? And then, there's this, I forgot what quote this is or who says it, but I heard once somebody say, like, whatever you surrender to God, God can use. Even if you think that you're surrendering your dirty sock, okay? Whatever you surrender to God, God can use. So more than anything, let yourself surrender, because the best feeling in the world is to be used by God. The best feeling in the world is to be in awareness of your calling and living it. Yes. Right? Living your calling consciously.
Right.
What an honor. What an honor. What a blessing. And something to celebrate. Right?
And the shift that it had to occur from your daily putting on the forgiveness and that radical love for yourself, from that moment of, I'm not done with you. What, me? To now, right? To now 6 years later, or maybe a little less than that later, but to Adelina in her power going, yes, me. Not from a place of arrogance, not, but just from that place of, I'm a channel. And I do this work. This is my passion, and you're transforming lives because you said yes to listening and having radical love for yourself and listening to spirit and the universe and listening to God and just moving and taking the steps you could take.
Yes. No, thank you for that. Thank you for that acknowledgement. And truth is, it's a choice I make every day.
Yes.
Like you said, we're one thought away. And so every day there's a process. I would say we don't even need to get into it, but being pregnant now, it's like, it's a whole nother level of surrender for me. Let me say, it's a whole nother process of radical love. Not just for my body shifting and changing, but like for all the unknowns, and really letting so much go. As I'm going through all the process,
Yes.
So just totally grateful. And I think what I will say though is that with practice, because it is a choice every day, but the lingering of like, oh, should I choose into thinking like from a lower frequency, from a victimhood place, or should I step into a higher level of thinking? On average, that lowers. The amount of time that I have to sit and think about it, the amount of time that I'm thinking about poor me. The other day I woke up, I didn't wake up. I couldn't sleep. I was in a lot of pain. And I don't know what the heck. I don't know what I did, but I'm 20 weeks pregnant right now. So apparently that's the norm, is that you just have random pain. So I was in a lot of pain. And I was just curled up. My stomach was hurting. It's my first pregnancy. So I'm also like, my body is just like stretching and moving, and my bones are doing things anyway. And also like my baby's sitting on nerves and things in any case, I was in a lot of pain, and I was sitting there, and my husband's laying next to me, and he's like, what can I do? What's wrong? How can I help? But, you're okay. And he goes to extreme. So he's like thinking, do I need to call the hospital? And I knew that it wasn't one of those pains. It was just a pain of pregnancy. And I just remember thinking, I just was in prayer. I was like, God, oh my God, like, help me, help me, help me. Like, oh, I'm so just take this pain, take this pain. And then in the middle of it, I switched it because I realized I had been praying for this baby for years, way before I ever met my husband, even before I ever met my ex. I was praying to be a mom one day.
Wow.
With being a mom comes some pain. Right. So then I just switched it to thank you, God. Thank you for this pain because I'm having this pain because I'm pregnant.
Yes.
It's not exactly how I wanted to experience pregnancy, but but thank you for this pain, right? And so I was able to do that, I mean, within an hour, you know, of being in the I'm so pain. But I'm so glad I did, because once I allowed it, thank you, God, for giving me this baby that is indirectly causing me pain right now. I fell asleep. Wow. Do you know what I'm saying? And yes, I'm so glad. Like, I wouldn't have been able to sleep had I just kept going like, oh, it's so painful. Yeah. Like,
yes.
I'm so uncomfortable. Yeah.
Yes. Absolutely. There's a great speaker and a wonderful, I don't know if you've ever heard of Kyle Cease. Have you heard of Kyle Cease? He's remarkable. I just discovered him a couple months ago, and he was a, and I know we're going to bring this to a landing, but I just wanted to share this with you because it connects to what you're talking about. He was a stand-up comedian at the top of his game. And, we're talking about, like, the time where you did, like, Comedy Central shows. It was a little while ago, right? Before Netflix is into the company. And he was at the top, and he realized, I'm not happy. And he didn't want to be coming from a career where he was making fun of people. And he shifted everything. He gave it all up, that success, because he wanted to teach transformation. So now he is this amazing teacher that's coming from a place of humor and love. And, I highly recommend you look into him if you're interested.
Yeah.
And one of the things that he's a big fan of, Byron Katie. And so he's incorporated this technique of, so say, for instance, when you're in pain, or if I'm feeling, maybe I'm feeling anxious, as I, within the a division of my coaching business is I also teach at a university. That's a division of my business. And sometimes I can feel like, okay, I'm feeling fragmented. So if I just say, okay, I'm feeling fragmented, and then I add in there, and I love that. I love that feeling. So because it's this idea that there's this part of me that feels fragmented, but it, like everything else, it just wants to know that I love it. I love that. So he will say, you add, I love that. I add, and I love that feeling. And I love that feeling. And it connects to Thich Nhat Hanh, who teaches about anger, and he talks about loving anger like a baby. Feel angry rather than most of us would go, I shouldn't be feeling angry, get more angry, right? Oh, now I'm angry, I should know better, whatever. You actually treat the anger like a baby, and you say, it's okay, little anger. It's been remarkable and transformative in me. And because what happens is it dissolves. It dissolves. It just wants to know we are going to radically love the thing that we feel we don't want. The anxiety, the physical pain that you experienced.
Yeah.
All of these things, the anger, it's okay. And I love that part of me. And then it goes, oh, I feel loved. Well, back into the, the ethers.
I love how you're saying it dissolves.
Yeah.
That it all just, comes, it releases.
It releases.
Because it can't do anything but do that. Because, and there's some spiritual teachings, A Course in Miracles being one, which is actually where Mary got that quote, right? Of like, it being a block in me of love's presence. A Course in Miracles says that the only thing that exists is love.
Right.
And so it dissolves really because we become aware of what's really there, which is love.
That's it.
Nothing else even exists.
Exactly. And that was what you did at a high level from A Course in Miracles. We know it's coming and saying every action is either a call for a love or an expression of love. And it was mastery for you to have that. Even if you didn't have that saying from A Course in Miracles in that period, you came from that space to forgive your ex. Had you not, I think we would both agree, you wouldn't be here today with the love of your life and pregnant, hapai, as we say in Hawaii, you're hapai, and loving the part of your body that's growing and stretching and all of that, the tools that you have.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, totally. It's a call for love or an act of love. Thank you for that reminder. Yes. Having that, but the name, but being able to name that is a whole nother level of being like, oh my God, this is a call for love, or, and to communicate that, you know? And so it's, yes, it's, I'm so grateful for my life, and I'm so honored to be used by the universe and God to be serving others in loving themselves, in moving past their fears, their limited thinking into whatever it is that they would love.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and miracles happen. Like in my experience, the miracle was opening myself up again, right? And it has been a miracle, and to have a baby, like this is all miraculous, you know, and it looks different for everybody.
Yes.
You know, and so having served clients who within 6 months find the love of their life and get married because that's really important for them, or within 3 months tripling their income. You know? Going from, in a year's time, going from unemployed to a homeowner. You know, these are just like, these were their dreams, and it was their version of what they would love. Mm-hmm. And then being witness of that, you know, and being able to support them in the thinking and the knowing that with the universe and God, all things are possible. Mm-hmm. You know? Because if you would love it, it's not just you, it's a calling. You didn't make up your calling. You're just listening into your calling.
Absolutely. And if you can dream it, you can live it. And if you're looking, if you hear that and you're listening to this and you go, I'd like to get some of that, surrenderedhealing.com. surrenderedhealing.com. Adelina. You're amazing. You know, and I think it's just so Adelina, much. But Adelina Tancioco, my dear friend.
Yeah, no, for sure. And here's the thing. I love what you're doing, and I'm so excited for the book that's coming out. Woo! Yes, woo! I'm really, really excited for all that you're doing. Excited to be here, not just this interview once it comes out, but all the interviews that you have lined up, you know? And so for anybody who finds me through this podcast, I would love to do a special offering. Is that okay?
Yes, please. Now, the stage is yours, my dear.
Yeah. I'm just like, you know, for anyone who finds this, finds me through your podcast of Radical Love, you know, when you just feel free to there's a Design Your Dream section on my website. Again, it's a gifted session. It's a 90-minute session where we really dive deep into, you know, hearing what your longing, your discontent is, knowing what is exactly holding you back, and then leading with next steps. And so it's actually valued at $500. I'm grateful to be able to, you know, have services at that level because I know that they're effective. And I do a few gifted ones here and there when I feel called. And so for anybody who finds me through this podcast, would love for you to just fill out the application, but put in the note that you found me through Radical Love, and you will just bypass the application process, meaning that you're just qualified. You know, I'm qualifying you to receive that as a pure gift.
That is so generous. That is so generous. I hope that everybody here listening will take advantage of that, really realize that is, I got to go do that. Even if that, and my highest suggestion is there's a part of you that goes, that sounds like something I'd like to do. And there's a part of you that feels fearful. My suggestion is do it anyway. Do it afraid. If you feel led and you're connected to Adelina's message as I know you are, then take that step. That's a beautiful, generous gift. Thank you, Adelina.
Yeah, I'd love to serve, and especially love to serve your community and all the work that you're doing and expand on that. And so however I can be of service, let me know, you know. And so folks, if you're hearing this and if it feels resonant, you know, don't hesitate. Something else I find, especially for women, and even more so for women of color, is a lot of times people be like, oh, I don't want to take up that spot. And I just want to say to you, if you are feeling called, that spot is for you.
Yes. That spot's got your name on it.
It has your name on it. It's already written.
It's already done. Don't do the thing that my papa would always say is you have analysis paralysis. Where you start, should I? No. Should I? And then you're just paralyzed. But take that step and know that you are in the most beautiful hands with Adelina, and powerful and safe, and that it will be transformative. That time working with you will be absolutely transformative. And I'm just so grateful. So we'll bring this to a landing. I just want to, you know, again say from my heart to yours, my dear friend, such a joy and such an honor to spend this time with you, really just sacred. And whether we use that in the religious terms or spiritual, but it's a holy communion that we had today, and knowing that it's going to serve so many hearts and be the message that people needed to hear in this moment. And so grateful that I get to do this work with remarkable, brave women like you, and what a joy it is to have been able to get to know you more over this past year, and to have this time, and making time in your beautifully robust business and your schedule for this is so powerful. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Corey. Thank you for having me.
My pleasure. Big hugs and so much love to you. Thank you, Adelina.
Thank you.
Bye for now.
Bye.